Hi everybody, I'm back again, and for those of you who are just tuning in, um, definitely recommend that you go back and listen to the past broadcasts because I'm in the middle of reading a story. So you may not understand it so much if you hop in now, but there's previous broadcasts that are available, so you can go back and listen to them and then listen to tonight's story. Well, chapter, which looks like it's going to be a shorter one. I've got, basically 5 pages, so it'll be short and sweet, but that's okay. And just a quick reminder that next week I'm only going to be streaming on Monday and Tuesday, and then I'll be back again the following Wednesday where I start up again. So just so you're aware of the not schedule, because I'll be traveling. So without further ado, I'm going to read from Guardian of the Sword. This is an alternate manuscript that was originally written in 1982. The one that's published right now that you can buy pretty much everywhere is the one that was written in 1977. So there's a little bit of differences, and we're going to find out exactly what they are as we go along. Or I'm sort of going to try to remember what the original story was versus this one. It looks like it's just more concise. So without further ado, Chapter 7 of The Guardian of the Sword. Look to your arms, ye men of the West. Put your hand to the sword and bow and the shield. Come to your rightful king and lord. Come from the wood and herd in the field. Men of the mountains, men of the sea, your land needs your service. Your king calls you forth. Many indeed are the foes of the kingdom. Take shield, take sword, and face to the north. Anonymous rallying song of Asbaln. Besides fighting and training, they had been working at other things. They found out the fort at Verdun, how the fort at Verdun was built, and what was the strength of its garrison, and, further afield, seeking to discover what strength the Hygerians could muster against them. The fact was, apparently, the Razak's nobles remained unconvinced regarding the danger from the hills. With the fall of Aventir, they considered the war to be over, and would, each of them, only send to Razak a few men under a subordinate, not the armies he demanded. Small bands of Asbalians and individuals took it upon themselves to harass the Hygerians, some out of loyalty to the king, some merely for what loot was to be had. The Hygerians dealt harshly with any such when they found them, and when they were unable to find them, often enough dealt harshly with the nearest village or steading as a warning. This, though, had a double effect, preventing them from sending a large force to the hills, lest the whole land rise up again behind them if they removed their heavy hand for even a moment. In a short time, however, 500 infantry were marching toward the hills, supported by 300 cavalry. The coming battle would not be an easy one. And add to this, skirmishes between patrols from the hills and patrols from Verdun became more and more frequent. Every horse that could be acquired was acquired, and many a Havartai horse dealer profited from the trouble in Asbaln. You may also hear children in the background. They aren't mine, and I can't really do anything about them. Also, if there's any... Oh, yeah, never mind. I just realized I was going to say something, but that would have been trademark stuff. Okay. On a certain day, a message intended for Verdun was intercepted and brought in. It was written, and that fact suggested it was too important to have been trusted to the memory of the bearer alone. The chief magician of the Asbalian camp, known only as the Old One, was known to have some skills in the matters of language, and was also called to look at this. A sprightly man, who used a staff for walking without leaning heavily on it, came to the chief's hut, where the war leaders had assembled. He looked around the group, and Orn handed the paper to him silently, a little diffidently, and they waited. The Old One cast an eye over it, then said, "The runes are Hygerian, but the language is gibberish." "What does that mean?" "I know the Hygerian language, and I know their writing. The letters indeed are Hygerian, but the language is nothing I've ever seen before. The form of it is..." He stopped a moment, inspecting the message carefully. A smile spread over his face. "It is the Hygerian language, but the letters have been changed about. I believe that, with some time, I shall be able to tell what it says." "Do so, with our gratitude. Whatever plan of theirs we might be forewarned against, the better for us," Rourke said. The presence of cavalry with Hygerian force made their previous tactics less useful. Though the Hygerians had no mounted archers, but their cavalry could keep the horsemen out of effective range of the infantry. The most effective attacks were the raids on the camps, but even these did little more than show the horsemen were willing to fight. But arrows were cheaper than men, and from bushes, ravines, rocks, and trees, Icarian arrows flew. The Hygerian cavalry, riding to the scene of such ambushes, usually found only the places once occupied by the bowmen, and occasionally heard the retreating hooves of horses. On the night before they marched forth to battle, Rorik addressed the gathered infantry. "Tomorrow you go to your first battle, for which you have waited with such patience." There was laughter here, for the men had been in bad temper for some days, knowing that the battle was coming at last. "We have shown you how to fight in ways strange and unusual to you. Let us hope that they will be as strange to the Hygerians. You will be outnumbered here, though not so badly as you are likely to be in future battles, and the Hygerian is a fighter who fears nothing under the sun. Remember that your people on the plains depend on us to win this battle, and that if we do win, it will be a beginning. Too long have our people lived under the rule of men who do not rightly know what a city is, nor a road, nor a proper farm. Too long have they taken from us what they would, and left nothing but bitterness. Now shall that bitterness be many times repaid. Victory to Asbalin with Connell!" The war host roared out his answer. By now, after many weeks of practicing theoretical battles against imaginary enemies, the burning flame of pride and anger that had driven them into the hills to fight for Connell was beginning to wane. The prospect of battle in the morning, however, had brought it out in a blaze. Even the few older men among them, with good cause to know what a battle meant, were caught up by the high spirits. They cheered the prince, the guardian, and their Icarian hosts, then returned to their quarters to attempt to rest for the morning. As they returned from the gathering place, Helena came out to meet Rorik. "You go to battle again tomorrow?" Though she sought to hide it, worry was in her voice and her eyes. "Aye." Rorik was too concerned with the state of the infantry to pay close attention to her. "It is the first fight for infantry. They have not had much experience, but they are all good lads." Then, seeing her concern, he pulled his mind away from his present worries. "But why should we talk of war and battles, you and I? Surely there are more pleasant things to discuss. She smiled briefly. They strolled across the face of the hill, quietly talking of anything that was but what was of anything but what was most uppermost in either mind. He was only half listening to her, watching as the evening breeze combed her brown hair. Then something loomed over the crest of the hill. He turned and reached for the sword. It was a troll, coming toward them, and in the same moment another troll, round the side of the hill toward them. Rorik estimated his chances. "Get back to the village," he shouted. A man might fight a troll, but two together were too many. Helena turned to run, but a few steps further on, her foot caught in the loop of a willow root, and she fell. The first troll rushed at Rorik, who sidestepped, chopping into the beast's leg. It was smaller than the first one he had fought, but already the second one was coming up. Spreading its arms wide, it sprang to enfold him. Rorik went down on one knee, thrusting up and forward with the sword. In that instant, the glow of the sword heightened to a flaring brilliance, and then disappeared. The troll impaled itself on the blade, and Rorik rolled aside as it fell where he had been. Coming to his feet, Rorik turned to face the other. In the instant of his turning, it seemed to him that the dead troll's face held an expression of long-sought peace. The leg of the other troll was now fully healed, and he came forward in a series of fainting hops, clearly hoping to make Rorik swing and open himself to a counterattack. Then, as though losing patience, the monster stepped forward and swung a huge fist. Rorik ducked under it, thrusting upward. Again came the flaring brilliance, swiftly fading as the sword thrust home. But the troll was swinging with its other arm, and though Rorik tried to dodge, it caught him glancingly on the side of the head, and he fell beside the dead troll. Helena, having freed herself, approached Rorik where he lay like one dead. When she saw he still lived, she went to the village to bring help. Rorik maintained his grip on the sword, even in unconsciousness, so both were brought back to the village together. Fear filled them all. The story went around first that he had died fighting and killing two trolls, which most seemed to think a fitting end for the guardian. Later, when he roused and walked among them to prove that he was truly alive, the feeling about him was more akin to awe. One man, and he had killed two trolls in the same fight. Most men would fear to face a single one of the green beasts. Again, this is a shorter chapter, so it didn't take very long to really get into. So for beyond that, I'm going to just, normally, like I said, I do a quick chat, but, there's not much to say about it. It was really, really short. I think in this case, this is an example of it being so short, it being so concise that it's kind of needs a little bit more beef to it, which is where the original manuscript would come into play, and you just sort of build it out a little bit so it's a little more full and just has a little more to it. Anyway, so that is all for tonight. I will talk to you all again Monday. And yeah, Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm off for a week, so I will talk to you all again on Monday. Have a good night.